Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I'm Brad Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to be looking at rucksacks, day sacks, and basically recommending some on different price groupings. So a budget, a top of the line, a middle of the road, and a budget version of each rucksack. Now, you don't have to listen to what I say. You can go out and try on all these rucksacks, try various different rucksacks, and it is entirely up to you which rucksack you end up buying. These are just recommendations and what I would choose if I could. So I'll swap views now, and we'll get on with the video. So starting off with the rucksacks, which with the big rucksacks, which the multi-day rucksacks, I'm going to put a little bit of, I'm going to quantify what I'm looking at slightly, and not only discuss what features to look out for, but what some features to avoid as well. Now, the rucksacks that I'm going to go for here, the multi-day rucksacks, none of them are over 75 litres, and to be honest, that is really sort of the maximum you want to look at in terms of rucksack size. Sometimes you do have to go over that size rucksack for whatever reason, but the majority of the time, the biggest rucksack that you're going to need is no bigger than a 70 litre. So with that being said, let's look at the top of the range rucksack that I would recommend. Have a look at some of its features and work our way down. So the top of the range one I would recommend is the Ruck 2 65 litre rucksack from Osprey. Now this normally retails at £180. I am going to be looking, when I'm judging the prices and where I'm putting them as either premium, middle of the road or budget, I'm looking at the full retail price, not the sale price. So in this case, it's £180. It is from Osprey, so it's a well-known manufacturer of rucksacks. They are top of the game when it comes to rucksack manufacturing. They focus purely and utterly on rucksacks and day sacks. They've been around for several years. I think they're coming up maybe on their 50th year now. So they do know what they're doing. The things you're looking for in the rucksack, and this goes across the board regardless of price, is a decent frame running down the back that will support the weight of what you're carrying. Separated sleeping bag compartment to put your sleeping bag in. To put your sleeping bag in, keeps that separate, and you can also put other bits and pieces in there as well. So it means that you don't have to pull everything out of your rucksack to pull your sleeping bag out at night. Now, it may not look it, but this rucksack does have side pockets, which is always a useful feature to look for, but they are net pockets as opposed to closed off pockets, zip pockets. Nothing wrong with that, but you do need to be aware of what you're putting in there. You may end up losing it. I'm not saying you will, but you may end up losing it. Always a useful feature in any rucksack is also a top compartment, so you can get access to your stuff easily. as well as, well, I've already mentioned them, side pockets, but in this case, the Osprey also has hip pockets as well, so you can store snacks or change or whatever you need in there. Key thing with the Osprey, and that picture doesn't do it any justice really, it makes it too pixelated. Key thing with the Osprey, and again with all these rucksacks, they have an adjustable harness system, so it makes the bag actually fit on your back a lot better, and that is key to being able to carry weight, is having a well fitted rucksack as well as packing it properly, which is not something I'm going to show on the channel. So, why the Osprey? I've already mentioned some of them. Some of the things, they are particularly innovative. They do nothing but rucksacks, so their design principle is rucksack only. They are one of the top that you can get, one of the top brands that you can get, and they are always thoroughly recommended. For the middle of the road rucksack, I have gone for the OEX Valo 70. It's a slightly bigger rucksack than the Osprey, only by 2 litres though. So what do you get? And this is £125, so it's cheaper. It is kind of the middle of the road rucksack. What do you get for your money in an OEX that you don't get in the Osprey? Or sorry, vice versa. What don't you get in the OEX that you do get in the Osprey? To be honest, there's not a lot. There's not a lot in it. This is a middle of the road rucksack. The key difference with this OEX over the Osprey is the material it's made out of and the weight. So with the Osprey, it is made out of a slightly lighter denier nylon to make it a little bit lighter. It's also got various compression straps, so if you're not using the space, you can actually compress it down. And that's really about it. The Valo does have, as I say, it's got 2 more litres than the Rook. It's still got that separate sleeping bag compartment. It's still got a couple of side pockets. It's got an external back pocket there as well. Fully adjustable harness system, same as before. But it is heavier because it uses cheaper materials. It is heavier. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but over a multi-day expedition you might end up feeling that. Still has the frame, still has tough nylon, still got the separate compartments, as I say. It's just a slightly cheaper rucksack, and it is heavier. Coming a bit further down, and to the budget price, we have the Eurohike Nepal 65. Now, a lot of people have heard of Eurohike, and Eurohike would have been one of their first rucksacks. Now, the Nepal has actually gone through a bit of a change in the last few years. At one point, I remember the Nepal was not an adjustable harness. It was a fixed harness system, which made the bag considerably cheaper, because it obviously it didn't require that much extra material, it didn't require extra metal, it made it a lot simpler, made it a lot cheaper. Unfortunately, it meant that if it didn't fit you, it didn't fit you. And that was it. With this being a budget rucksack, it is a no frills deal. Now, it doesn't necessarily make it a bad rucksack, but it does mean that it's no frills. So, as you can see, standard side pockets with no compression straps. So, if you're not using them, there's no way of folding them in and getting rid of that extra space. You got elasticated top, which is useful for very, very lightweight stuff. I would not recommend putting a roll mat up the top, as the spacing is a bit too wide and could end up blowing your roll mat out. A couple of straps down the bottom here for your tent. There is a sleeping bag compartment, and there is a top pouch. That's really about it. It is as simple as it comes. The plus side is it is cheap. The downside is it is heavier, a lot heavier compared to the other two. It also doesn't have as many features. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not necessarily a good thing either. The biggest drawback with this one, though, with this rucksack, is the hip belt. The hip belt does not have as much padding as the other two. Now, again, that doesn't make it a bad bag. It is just something to be aware of. So, with that being said, that is the rucksacks and points to look at for all rucksacks. Now, as I've already said, you don't have to take my word for it. If you want to go with something different, make sure it fits, make sure it's comfortable. These are just recommendations. That's it. So, now I'm going to move on to the other end of the scale, the day sacks. Now, with the day sacks, I'm not looking at anything bigger than a 33-litre day sack. Reason being is this really isn't. You shouldn't really be going any bigger than 33 litres. 35 litres at the very, very most. So again, starting at the top of the line, top of the range, it will come as no surprise that I have chosen the Osprey Talon 33-litre rucksack. This is essentially the Rook that we just looked at, scaled down to 33 litres. £165. For that £165, again, you get top quality nylon rucksack, virtually unbreakable clips, one big pouch to put your stuff in, a top pouch, and a couple of side pouches as well. Hip pouches, not side pouches. A couple of hip pouches. The compression straps on these are very effective, so if you don't need, or if you haven't used up all the space, you can cinch it down to take up less space if you need it to. There is a pocket on the inside for your hydration system as well. Vast majority of rucksacks, not rucksacks, the vast majority of day sacks are a single pouch holding, as I've already mentioned, with a few accessory pockets. So there's one on each hip belt, as I've already mentioned. There are a couple of elasticated side pockets. There's one at the top as well. The main thing with day sacks though. The harness is not adjustable. They are a fixed harness system. Reason for this, the main reason for this is the bags are too small to put on an adjustable harness system. So it's a case of having to adjust the bag when it's on your back to where it feels comfortable. Now that goes across the board for all the day sacks that we're looking at. So as I say, this is what I would consider a top of the range rucksack, day sack. Keep saying rucksack, it's day sack. And if you ever get a chance to see one, you will see why. You will feel why they are one of the top of the range. Moving on to a mid-range day sack now. We're looking at the Berghaus Arrow. Again, fixed harness system. This one has got an airflow chimney up the back. I personally find, and this is a personal thing, this is not a dig at Berghaus, this is no reflection on Berghaus whatsoever, but I find the airflow system on these bags do not work. That's it. That's just me. There are some that will say that they're absolutely perfect. And if it works for you, it works for you. It just doesn't work for me. With this 30-litre rucksack, the Berghaus Arrow 30, £85. Fixed harness system, as I've already mentioned. Couple of side pockets that can be opened with gloves. Single point system for closing the main pouch. Some people prefer this. Some people prefer double clips. The advantage of a single clip is it usually can be opened with a glove. The disadvantage is if it breaks, you haven't got anything to secure your rucksack with, your day sack with. Whereas with the double clips, they tend to be smaller, but if one breaks, you've still got the other one to hold down whatever it is you've got in there. Hold down the top of your rucksack, your day sack. Couple of ice-axe poles, ice-axe loops or pole loops as well, and a single, as I say, a single compartment down the middle. Again, it's really a no-frills rucksack from Berghaus, day sack from Berghaus. There's nothing that you don't need on there. So, with that, we'll move on to the budget rucksack, and hopefully you'll start seeing some of the differences. So this is the Eurohike Nova 25, normally retails at £40. The biggest difference between the Nova and the other two is in the fastening. The main pouch on the Talon and the Arrow are both buckles, clip buckles. On the Nova, it is a zip. It's a zip compartment. Now, on the plus side, zip compartments can be opened wider, making it easier to get into the bag and find anything that you're looking for. The downside, however, zips tend to be a bit weaker. So swings and roundabouts with that one. Now with the Nova, both the main pouches are zips, so again something to be aware of. The front pocket, so this bit here, tends to have an organiser in it, which makes it a little bit more of a more practical everyday bag. Couple of mesh side pockets to put bottles in if you should need to. Again, fixed harness system with airflow. An airflow system, again, I don't find it works, but other people do. And really, that is about it with the Eurohike. Again, it's a no-frills bag. Doesn't do anything flash or fancy. It is just a day sack that's there and is one of those options. as I said, as I said at the beginning of the video, and as I've been saying through it, you choose whichever rucksack you feel most comfortable with, whether that's 70 litre, 60 litre, 50 litre, 40 litre, 30 litre, whatever you feel most comfortable with, and whatever fits you best, and whatever you find is best when it's loaded, that's the best rucksack for you. This is just an idea of what you can get at the various different price brackets and their advantages and disadvantages. I hope that helps. I really do hope that helps. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. It is appreciated. And I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.